If you're trying to save for a house, you've probably heard the same advice a million times, right? Cut the coffee, pack your lunch, and just wait. But let's be honest, in today's market, that slow and steady path feels like it leads absolutely nowhere. That's why in this explainer, we are throwing out the old rulebook. We're going to break down a completely different way of thinking, an accelerated pathway to owning your own home. Okay, let's get into it.
First things first, we have to get real about the size of the mountain we're trying to climb. This number right here, $75,000. That's a pretty typical 20% down payment on a median-priced home in the US today. Just seeing it like that, in black and white, wow, it's a huge number.
And that, of course, leads to the big question. It's what so many of us are asking. I mean, how on earth is anyone supposed to pull this off? It can feel completely overwhelming, almost impossible, really. But what if the problem isn't you? What if it's not about your discipline, but about the strategy itself? What if we just need a totally new game plan?
That's what this first part is all about. We really need to understand why the traditional advice, the stuff our parents did, just isn't cutting it anymore. We have to see why the old rules are broken before we can build a new set of rules that actually work today.
And this slide, wow, this really tells the whole story. Just look at this. Back in the 80s, the average house cost about 3 times what the average person earned in a year. Fast forward to the 2000s, and it's up to 4 times. But today, it's a staggering 7 times the median income. The goalposts haven't just moved, they are in a completely different county.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures why that old advice is so frustrating. That $5 latte is not the reason you can't buy a house. The math just doesn't work. Trying to save a $75,000 down payment by skipping coffee it's just pointless. We need a bigger shovel, not a smaller spoon.
Which brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole thing. To actually win this game, we have to make a fundamental shift in our thinking. It's not just about saving money anymore. It's about radically shortening the timeline. It's all about speed.
So let's just compare the two. Over on the left, you've got the slow path. That's the old advice, right? Focus on tiny expenses, watch your savings grow bit by bit, and just passively wait for maybe 10, 15 years. But the fast path, it's a whole different animal. We're talking about focusing on big, game-changing wins that create exponential growth. It's an active strategy that aims to get this done in 2 to 5 years. It's the difference between being a passenger on a slow bus and being the pilot of a jet.
So here it is. Let's put an official name to it, the accelerated pathway. It's an active, two-pronged attack. It's not just about saving more, and it's not just about earning more. The real magic happens in the strategic combination of both, radical savings and accelerated income, working together to literally compress time.
All right, so let's get into the mechanics of it. We're going to start with the first engine of this strategy, the saving side. But forget about clipping coupons. We're talking about radical, bold moves that create massive momentum. You know the 80-20 rule? It absolutely applies here. Instead of stressing about 100 small things, you go all in on the big 3 expenses that make up the bulk of most people's budgets. I mean, think about it. Drastically cutting your rent by getting a roommate or moving home for a bit, ditching a car payment or mastering meal prep, these moves don't just save you a few bucks. They can free up hundreds, even thousands of dollars every single month.
Now, speaking of housing costs, let's talk about one of the most powerful, high-impact strategies out there. It's a concept called house hacking. And for some people, this can be a total game changer.
Okay, here's how it works in a nutshell. You buy a property with more than one unit, like a duplex or a triplex. You live in one of the units and you rent out the others to tenants. Now, in a best-case scenario, the rent you collect from your tenants covers your entire mortgage payment. You are essentially living for free, which allows you to save an absolutely astronomical amount of money. You turn your single biggest expense into an income stream. It's incredible.
But look, radical savings is only half the battle. You can only cut your expenses so much. You can't shrink your way to a down payment. The other powerful engine in our accelerated pathway is all about aggressively and strategically turbocharging your income. And these are some of the most effective levers you can pull. And notice what these are. This isn't about just trading more of your time for a little bit of money, like driving for a rideshare. We're talking about strategic moves that give you leverage. Things like getting a certification in a high-demand skill, or strategically job hopping to a new company for a 15 or 20% raise. These moves create a massive injection of cash into your savings plan.
This bar chart really puts it all into perspective. Just look at the difference here.
Yeah, you can cut out every single coffee you buy and maybe save $1,000 a year, but securing a 15% raise on, say, a $60,000 salary, that's an extra $9,000 a year. The impact isn't even in the same league. You have to focus your energy where you get the biggest results.
Okay, so we've got our two main engines, radical savings and accelerated income. Now for the really cool part. Let's see what happens when we combine them into one cohesive, fast-track plan.
And this is so important to get. This is the key. These strategies aren't just additive. They're not just 1 + 1 = 2. They are multiplicative. They have a multiplier effect. When you drastically cut your expenses at the same time that you are drastically increasing your income, the effect on your savings rate is absolutely explosive.
Let's make this super tangible with an example. So, let's say your baseline saving is a few $100 a month. If you decide to move in with family for a year, maybe you save an extra $1,200 a month. On its own, that move shaves 4 years off your timeline. Pretty good. Or, say you build a tech side hustle that brings in an extra $800. That saves another 2.5 years. But what happens when you do both at the same time? Now you're saving an extra $2,000 every month. You've just cut your down payment timeline by about 7 years. That is the multiplier effect in action.
And this chart really summarizes the whole philosophy. Your supercharged savings aren't just coming from one place. They come from this powerful combination. Attacking your expenses makes up that big 60% slice, and boosting your earnings is that other crucial 40%. You need both engines firing at full throttle.
Now, I know this might all sound really intense, and you know what? It is. But here's the key thing to remember. This is not a life sentence of deprivation. This is a short, focused sprint. It's about channeling all of your energy and focus for 2, 3, maybe 4 years to pull off a truly life-changing financial goal. It is temporary intensity for a permanent reward.
So that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. Because this isn't just about learning something new, it's about taking action. So looking at all of this, the big 3 cuts, house hacking, the income levers, what is the one move, the one thing you can do differently starting tomorrow to get on your own accelerated path?